take your seats. We are now going to call the Monday, July 14th Air Mobility and Aviation Economic Development Task Force to order. At this time, if you could call the roll.
Senator Elkins.
Present.
Senator Meredith.
Present.
Senator Nunn.
Here.
Senator Yates. Representative Hodgson. Representative Meredith. Representative Rourks.
Here.
Representative Thompson.
Here.
Co-Chair Dietz. Chairman Storm.
Present. We have a quorum duly authorized to do business. At this time, I'd call our first presenters up to testify today, and this is Commissioner Carter. Once you introduce yourself, please proceed. Make sure the green light's on.
Now it's on. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Carter. I'm the Commissioner of the Kentucky Department of Aviation. I appreciate Representative Dietz and Senator Storm and the rest of the task force for having me here. I see my friend Steve Meredith here as well. Steve. I have a presentation. Let me get that up. Just to begin, I have been commissioner of the department since 2021. I am a private pilot with a multi-engine land commercial instrument rating. Been flying for about 25 years, and I can say that as of today, I've visited by air all but two of our airports in Kentucky, commercial and general aviation. It's been a great experience getting to know the airports, their boards, the activity they have on the airports, and most importantly, the economic contribution that they make to our Commonwealth. Prior to this position, I spent about 40 years in the healthcare business. That's where I knew Senator Meredith from. We both worked in hospitals. And I was a partner in an accounting firm as well as the CFO of a health system and then CEO of an insurance company. You asked me to address three questions today. What's been done recently, what's working well, and what needs improvement. And so I'm going to walk through that. But first, I thought I would just start out with a little bit of an overview of our general aviation airports. And I'm going to focus on those. The department obviously has an interest in what happens at our commercial service airports as well, but they're well represented here today with their three directors in attendance, or three of the five anyway. There are 58 what are called public use airports in the Commonwealth. That consists of 5 commercial service airports in Lexington, Louisville, Northern Kentucky, as well as Owensboro and Paducah. The airports in Owensboro and Paducah do have commercial service, and they all are commercial service airports, but they have significant general aviation activities, as does Louisville with Bowman Field, and Lexington with West Lex, and of course CVG with their operation at, I believe it's Miami University. 4 of our airports are state-owned. Those are the state park airports, our 3 state park airports at Lake Barkley, Kentucky Dam Village, and Rough River, and then of course the airport here in Capital City in Frankfort is state-owned. The airport at Kentucky Dam Village has been leased to Calvert City on a long-term lease, and Calvert City is now effectively the sponsor of that airport. That has gone extremely well for the development of the Kentucky Dam airport. The GA airports have a complex safety infrastructure. It involves investments in runways, approaches, lighting, weather, communications, and various airport equipment. The role of the department is to ensure a safe and efficient system to support business aviation, economic development, tourism, emergency response, and workforce development. The department has a small staff, It consists of 4 people in the commissioner's office, 4 in our engineering department, including a UAS specialist or unmanned system specialist, 1 person in our inspections branch, and then 1 person that looks after airport zoning, essentially protecting the airspace around our airports. And those include our commercial service airports. The funding for the department, annual funding is based upon a tax on jet fuels, 6% tax on the price of jet fuels. That's capped at $1 million for any single purchaser. It generates about $23 million annually, or has been in the last few years. After you deduct the department's expenses, FAA matching grants, debt service, and then recurring preventive maintenance and emergency funds, we have about $15 million left over to invest in our airports annually. FAA funding for general aviation airports in Kentucky, just with the recent, I think, Reauthorization Act, the state allocation from the FAA for general aviation airports is about $8 million. That's up from about $3 million, so a significant bump that we've seen there. The FAA also provides each airport with a $150,000 grant each year. That amounts to about $8 million, but that has some strings attached to it. $150,000 doesn't go very far in the airport community. The airports can save that over a period of years and apply it to a more significant project. So that's a summary of the FAA investment. I will say that if you just, I don't have any historical records on what our total investment as a Commonwealth is in our GA airports, but if you tried to apply a fair market value to them, it would probably be close to $3 billion that those airports and that property would be worth today in a fair market value analysis. So with that, let me go to what's been done recently. Just pictured on this slide, just for your reference, are some projects that we've completed recently. The one in the lower right is projects at the Bardstown Airport. Some were funded by this General Assembly directly, others through the jet fuel tax allocation. Madisonville Airport resurfacing of the runway is in the upper right. And then over at the left is the resurfacing of the Central Kentucky Regional Airport. This is the airport that houses the EKU aviation program. So we're investing in airports consistently. We have open about roughly $30 million in projects, that some of which date all the way back to 2020. We've built new terminals, or helped build new terminals in Paducah and Bardstown. We built a new airport and opened that up in Sparta and Gallatin County. Investment in that airport's ongoing. Just down in Danville recently, helped them replace their lighting. It's about $1.5 million to get them a state-of-the-art LED lighting system. Lots of assistance with T-hangar developments, where the FAA funding for those developments were insufficient, and so the department, through grants, has provided funding for those. So there's a whole host of things we've done. Henderson, their runway extension, again, they had an FAA earmark, but it was insufficient given inflation and that occurs, and so we stepped in with a grant to help with that. We've been putting a lot of focus on data and trying to be the sort of the data repository for airports in general in Kentucky. We put in systems that surveil the transponder signals from airports, so we can get more accurate counts of takeoffs and landings at our airports. We've got studies of based aircraft, inventoried all the schools and training programs across the state. Lots of information on hangars, availability, rates, or lack of availability, as the case may be. But probably the two big things that I'm, I guess I'm a little proud of for the department is we conducted the first ever statewide analysis of the economic contribution that the GA airports make to the Commonwealth. That was released several months ago, and it's referred to in the legislation that you all enacted to set this task force up, so I won't repeat it. And we have also been working on a 5-year airport needs plan that we're sort of modeling that after the way that the road plan is developed and presented to the legislature. And we hope to have that ready in the next few weeks. It's undergoing final review now. So lots of work on data. You ask about what's working well. As I said, we're getting things done. We're making significant investments in the airport with the funds that you've authorized. Yeah, I've already gone over some of those previously, but suffice to say that things are getting done, deadlines are being met, and the airports are being invested in. I think communications with important constituencies has really improved. Probably the biggest thing is our relationship with the FAA and their airport district office in Memphis. Prior to a few years ago, they did their own planning and decided what projects they were going to fund with very little interaction with the state agency. Today, we actually can influence when they're choosing between projects. We can have some influence on their decision making, which is a considerable improvement. I think our communications with airports, our public, the general public, and frankly with the LRC and the General Assembly have significantly improved over the last few years. The department is reasonably staffed with 2 exceptions that I'll talk about in a little bit, but we do not have staffing issues. The 2 areas are in workforce and frankly advanced air mobility that you're focused on in this task force. And then finally, I think the department and the airports, we don't have funding the department doesn't have funding for aviation education activities. We can support them by investing in hangars. So if you have a maintenance school that needs a hangar, we can give a grant to the airport to build a hangar, but we can't pay for curriculum. We can't go out and assist with high schools or the like. But we have done some significant work with workforce development, assisting programs in Breckenridge County, Bardstown. We've been involved with Flight Club 502 at Bowman Field in Louisville. Obviously, the EKU program, and probably the lesser-known program at Madisonville Community College, where they're offering a 2-year associate degree with training in both rotary wing and fixed wing aircraft in partnership with the Madisonville and Muhlenberg County airports. At JCTCS, we're helping build them a ramp for their aviation maintenance program. One thing that aviation maintenance professionals have to learn to do is taxi an airplane. And so we're helping build a ramp there so that their students can do that on their facility as opposed to having to go to Bowman Field or Muhammad Ali Airport. So a lot's been done there, but more is needed. And now I'll shift to what needs improving. I put workforce first here. While I think we've done a good job with that, we have to make do with the people we have and the limitations on the funding that we have. But we need more investment in workforce. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but at one time, Kentucky was the leading state for having the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association high school curriculum implemented in our high schools. We were number 1 for a long time. Oklahoma's number 1 today. We're probably 5th or 6th, which is still pretty good, but we really need more programs like that in our high schools, because that's where places like FEAM, UPS, that's where the interest is going to start at the grassroots in our schools across the Commonwealth. So we need that. We need scholarships for mechanic and flight training. I know that the structure has been put in place by this General Assembly, but there's a significant need for that with our airports. there's just more that we can do to open aviation opportunities to our people in the Commonwealth. I think we need more attention on innovative programs. This is one of the areas where we're not really well staffed for. We do have an unmanned systems engineer that's on our staff that works with drones, but we really don't have anyone that can focus on advanced air mobility, work with our airports, work with other states. We do the best we can. We participate in a nationwide organization of state aviation officers. They have a task force on advanced air mobility. We participate in that. We participate in KBT's initiative, but we really could do more. Despite saying that, there is a grant from Ohio University to study our Appalachian airports for electrification. Our Deputy Commissioner, Brad Schwant, was really instrumental in helping Ohio U get that grant. So we do what we can, but we need more investment there. There are some large investments pending across the state. Elizabethtown Airport needs to reorient their runway. It's something they've got in their plan. That's a multi-million-dollar project, requires the support of the FAA, but will also require assistance from the state. Our Owensboro Airport has a 50 or 60-year-old terminal that needs to be replaced. The airport in Harlan, same thing, runway orientation needs to change. There's a mountain at the end of one of the runways. There was a very significant death where a pilot flew in instrument conditions right into the side of a mountain there, so there's improvements needed there. Litchfield, Grayson County wants to relocate their airport closer to Litchfield and closer to the Blue Oval Opportunity Zone, I'll call it. And then finally, Whitesburg, Letcher County had an airport at one time. They're working with the FAA, and the FAA has said that they're going to build an airport in Letcher County. Of course, that is all pending funding for them. But those are looming on the horizon, and all of those are multi-million-dollar projects, all of which require the support of the FAA. I think the GA airports have to get better at marketing themselves, explaining their value in the community. I mentioned the economic study, so they do have data now that they can show what the economic output is that they produce, what kind of state taxes are produced on their airport, local taxes and the like, but they just need to get better at telling that story because there's still a wide perception that those airports are just weekend play places for rich people with aircraft, and that's just simply not true. And then finally, I think our efforts at the KDA to become the data source for aviation in Kentucky need to be institutionalized. We really need to, and that doesn't sound good, it sounds like you're going to prison, but really we need to be doing these studies periodically. We are doing an aviation system plan with a much more in-depth economic study attached to that's FAA funded, but that needs to occur consistently over time. We need to keep these studies up to date, so when you ask for information, you know that you're getting the latest and accurate information as you make policy decisions in the legislature. So with that, I'll stop and cede any time to my colleagues from the commercial airports and answer any questions you have.
Senator Nunn has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. You talked about the workforce gap. Do you have numbers on what the gap is and what skill sets there are and how maybe you're working with KCTCS to identify programs that will help fill those numbers and skill sets?
Yeah, I don't have specific numbers with me, Senator Nunn. Boeing puts a report out each year that shows the global and U.S. Shortage of pilots and mechanics, and it's hundreds of thousands. Of course, that's nationwide and globally. The same would be true here. I think probably my colleagues can address what they see at the commercial service airports. I do know, for example, Somerset Community College. they're just limited in the number of instructors they have. If they had more instructors, they could have more students, and that's an availability issue, and it's a wage issue, a salary issue. The salaries are low compared to what folks can earn in industry, and it's just availability. So I can get back to you with some better numbers, Senator Nunn, but that's an overview.
Thank you. That'd be helpful.
Yes, sir.
Representative Rourke.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Carter, for your presentation today. I wanted to ask around the workforce numbers for our air traffic controllers, obviously very critical in terms of safety and making sure that we are staying safe in the sky and landing safely. So in terms of numbers in those positions across the state, and then what does that look like? And also, is there anything that we could be doing as a state to attract and retain those workers to our airport specifically?
Well, so I don't know is the quick answer to what the needs are at the air traffic control towers in the state, and I don't know if my colleagues would have that information or not. I can get that. The thing with air traffic control is it's strictly an FAA function, and so I know that there is an interest at EKU in trying to develop a training program, and I think at other universities have an interest as well. But EKU is sort of the logical place. But there's a whole sort of federal regulatory system that you have to get through to be able to get authorized to have that program, and it's not an easy thing to do. Yeah.
Seeing no further questions, I do have a couple comments. I recall you coming to London, and I would encourage those members on this task force, if you haven't seen it yet, look at that transponder data from the actual GAs in your communities, because when you came, you showed me that, and to see all the different zip codes that those planes were either coming from or going to was just really phenomenal to actually comprehend that. It was amazing. And then going back to Senator Nunn's question, when we were doing the Aero Act from a couple sessions ago, which is the scholarship program we set up, I believe the numbers then were approximately 600,000 pilot shortage that we're anticipating in the next coming years. So again, thank you for your presentation. I don't see any other questions. So you say you're going to stick around?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If our next presenters want to come up, we have the Lexington Bluegrass Airport, Louisville Regional Airport Authority, and then the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. You can introduce yourselves and then proceed.
Okay. Sure, I think I got this. Start it. Oh, right here. There we go. All right. My name is Eric Franco. I'm the airport director in Lexington, Kentucky, Bluegrass Airport, and appreciate your time today. I'll be brief, or try to be brief in my remarks, but we have a lot going on. So first, I really kind of want to take this opportunity to welcome Larry Crowder to the table, our new airport director at CVG. This is a small industry, so Dan and I know Larry for a number of years. Welcome him. I think he's going to be a great leader for CVG and a great leader for our Commonwealth. On behalf of the Lexington Fayette Urban County Airport Board and the staff at Bluegrass Airport, I want to thank the legislature for creating the Air Mobility and Aviation Economic Development Task Force and placing a greater focus on the Commonwealth's aviation assets. I know that Commissioner Carter and my colleagues from around the state have spent the last several years advocating for aviation infrastructure and demonstrating the positive economic impact that infrastructure investment brings to our state. So this new task force is timely. There you go. Over the past several years, Bluegrass Airport has been on a journey to prepare our airport in the central Kentucky region we serve to meet the aviation demands of the future. In 2022, following the pandemic recovery, we undertook a master planning effort that forecast a fairly robust amount of growth at Bluegrass Airport. Just 2 years later, we have now not only completely rebounded from the activity losses associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, but we've already surpassed that passenger activity. We serve a wide variety of aviation users on this 1,100 acres, and it's a challenge. From a strong private aviation and pilot training presence to a rapidly growing corporate aviation sector that supports our key equine, bourbon, and automotive industries. As illustrated on this map, we have developed a plan to try to accommodate all of our users. Of course, we also need to support our growing passenger airline activity. In addition to supporting the many central Kentuckians traveling for business or leisure, our commercial airline terminal also serves our flagship educational institution, the University of Kentucky, advancing research, education, and healthcare. And while we tend to focus on travel options for central Kentucky residents heading across the country and around the world, it is equally important to ensure our region remains easily accessible to visitors coming to the Bluegrass State for business or pleasure. That said, all of these planning efforts have been about focusing on the future to ensure that we have facilities that not only meet today's needs, but also with an eye towards new aviation technology and innovation currently being tested. We realized from our master planning effort that we had some deficiencies that we needed to improve upon right away. Consequently, we immediately launched into a comprehensive terminal area planning effort that would enable us to expand and modernize our current airline terminal with the comfort and technological conveniences expected from our passengers. At the same time this planning effort was underway, we installed a new parking technology and immediately began designing a significant parking lot expansion that just couldn't wait any longer. Construction has begun, and we hope to have these facilities completed by early spring 2026. And really, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the legislature, and particularly Senator Amanda Mays Bledsoe, for your support of the funding last year that helps make this project possible. As part of our future terminal expansion project, we will, of course, plan and design facilities that will accommodate the current needs of the existing aviation fleet, but at the same time, we'll also plan for vertiport facilities that can accommodate future aviation technology, such as manned and unmanned electric aerial vehicles. This expansion will also include the relocation and enhancement of our air traffic control tower, which was built in 1970 and is somewhat outdated in its terms and its capabilities. The most significant project we'll be undertaking is a terminal modernization program. Over the next decade, we need to transition our passenger terminal from the current 70s and 80s facility to a facility that will meet the needs of the next generation of aviation users. We are estimating this cost to be approximately $500 to $700 million over the next 5 to 10 years. This will be an expensive facility that needs continued focus from this task force to ensure the economic benefits for our citizens. While the 3 largest airports do not receive any local taxpayer support, we are certainly willing to do our part to develop our facilities with our own resources, as you would expect of any private sector business. And we can also benefit the Commonwealth by drawing additional federal dollars that help us build the aviation infrastructure of the future. That said, there is certainly a role for the state. There are areas of development where a funding gap remains, and we would like the legislature to consider filling that gap. Aviation assets are mobile and, as such, can relocate to states that are more attractive to these industries. Many states, including several around Kentucky, have already developed funding mechanisms to support the development of commercial service airports and encourage innovation and the acceptance of new aviation technologies such as unmanned aerial vehicles. We have a significant economic impact on Lexington, Central Kentucky, and the Commonwealth, and our airport board will certainly do its part to prepare for the future of aviation in Kentucky, but we are always grateful to have the support of our partners in the legislature. thank you very much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, or we can wait until we're all done. Okay.
I don't see any questions, so if you just want to flow on through the next presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for allowing us to present today. Always exciting talking about the airport and the economic impact and what we're doing to support jobs and businesses in our communities. My name is Dan Mann. I'm the Executive Director of the Louisville Regional Airport Authority, and I've been here since 2018. And it's been a really transformational change, not just for aviation in general, but just what we're doing here in Louisville Airport. So with that, I'll get right at it. So you can see happy confetti faces. This is an all-time passenger record. Actually, the last 4 years, we've had record-setting passenger growth. Last year was all-time record-setting growth, and we are. It's been a little bit of a backslide this year, but we think the fall looks really strong, and we're super optimistic that we're going to set another passenger record or come close at SDF. I think probably you can't talk about our airport without talking about cargo. This is home to UPS Worldport. This slide, I can't wait till January of next year to update this slide. We are currently the 3rd busiest cargo airport in North America, 5th busiest cargo airport in the world. And so if you think about it, I think people are like, really, in Louisville? And it's like, yes, there's that much cargo or cargo traffic. But what's really interesting about this is back last summer, about this time last summer, UPS took over the Postal Service contract. Since they've done that, they've passed Memphis, which is the #1 cargo airport in North America, but we've beat them every month so far in January. So I think it seems pretty realistic to say we're going to be the #1 cargo airport. Louisville, Kentucky, #1 cargo airport in North America. And we're on track to be the 3rd busiest cargo airport in the world. So pretty impressive for Louisville and Kentucky to have that level of support with UPS. Obviously, we spend a lot of time and energy taking care of UPS to make sure that they're in this for the long haul and we can keep up with the growth, which has frankly been quite amazing since, starting with COVID. I mean, they really started putting on the cargo, and they've not slowed down since. Louisville Airport, 180,000 operations. That is a very, very busy airport. We are, from a technical perspective, we're a small hub airport, but when you look at Worldport, the cargo, and those operations, it puts us in a whole different level, really not normal categorizing of airports. And then let's go to the next slide. Bowman. I talk a lot about SDF, but Bowman really is the gem. I mean, it's the cradle of aviation. It's where people learn to fly. It's where kids come out to experience the joy of flying in aviation. Bowman is the busiest GA airport in the state, 140,000 operations. So you got SDF, and you can imagine that. But Bowman, with the aviation programs, 140,000 operations, it's just absolutely amazing. It's always busy out there. It's always fun to be out there and watch that. One of the things that changed in the last couple of years is Norton Healthcare, just for kids, stationed their helicopters at Bowman. They've had literally hundreds of life-saving missions per year with that helicopter operation. And so, again, it's not about just learning to fly or the joy of it. It's actually people's lives, children's lives being saved. In recent years, thanks, frankly, to some of the support from the state and our airlines, we support Bowman Field with investments, $6.5 million in pavement rehab. And it really is just scratch the surface. We have so much more pavement, really infrastructure work we can do at Bowman to meet the future needs. Flight schools, we've talked a lot about flight schools and training. Club 502 I saw the slide for that earlier with Mark's presentation. This year they have 400 high school kids that are going through the Club 502 program. They're actually building an aircraft. They train them from start to business. It's not just turning a wrench or flying. They're talking about the business of aviation. How do you do the books? How do you talk to people? It's just the Club 502. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, go to one of their events. These kids are absolutely amazing. They're learning not just aviation, but frankly life skills. Club 502 does a lot of work. But we have 4 other flight programs there. Over 700 students on any given day, from whether it's student pilots or people going through their instrument. There's a lot of aviation programming there. And then Bowman, again, it's a historic gem. It's the longest continually operating general aviation airport in the country, and we are investing to make sure it stays that way. Next slide. Economic impact. I think all of us probably have some economic impact slides. Obviously, Worldport really, UPS Worldport really drives these numbers, but $12.8 billion in economic impact, 90,000 jobs. 90,000 jobs. So many businesses have popped up around our region because of the support from the cargo operations. Ford at the end of the airfield. We have our own business park, a 680 acre business park. It employs 3,200 people just in our business park. And so this economic impact is real. I can't imagine what the region would look like without the airport and UPS and the airlines that are serving that market. But one of the things I want to highlight here is the $551 million in state and local taxes that are generated because of activity at the airport. That's money. If the airport wasn't there, UPS wasn't here, it would be a hole in the budget. And again, our partners, all our partners, UPS, the airlines, the National Guard, I mean, we're all very excited about what we do and the contribution we make to the state. Next slide. So obviously, things have changed since COVID. Activity came back, I think, quicker than most of us thought. We recognized that we had an opportunity to really invest in the airport, primarily because UPS helped us continue to fund infrastructure and, frankly, necessitated funding. We put $338 million in the last 4 years into the airfield and terminal. Again, it's making sure that UPS can get from the west side to the east side as efficiently as possible. They measure every minute is dollars, and they can't take a delay here and try to get the plane into New York City. Delays everything. And so we are very, very sensitive to what can we do to invest in this airfield to make sure that UPS and our air carriers are taken care of. The terminal building was full. I call it fully depreciated. The jet bridges didn't work. Our moving sidewalks had their own Facebook page because they were down. So there were just things that we needed to do to make sure this terminal, not to get ahead of the curve, just to meet a basic level of customer service. And so we said, you know what, we're going to invest in this. We're going to start with moving walkways, escalators, elevators. We're going to replace the jet bridges. And then while we're at it, we started digging into it. And we said, our mechanical systems, our HVAC systems, they're old, 45 plus years old. What can we do that's state of the art? And we studied geothermal. We found out we could do geothermal. It saves us a couple things on this. The system lasts twice as long as a typical system, but it saves us $400,000 a year in our utility bill, reduces our carbon footprint. State of the art. We've already had people from across the country come saying, look at how did you do the geothermal? Where did you put it? How did you make these decisions? And is it working? And it is working every bit as well as what we thought it would. So geothermal, baggage claim, all those were the original investments. But the more we started investing in the terminal, the more we realized we have to do. Next slide. Which brings me to this next phase of projects. So we've already invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the airfield and in the terminal. A couple sessions ago, the state, and again, I can't say thank you enough for this, the state supported $5 million for us to put into this facility. And $5 million when you're spending almost $1 billion over the next year, it may not seem like a lot, but it really allowed us to go out and pursue more federal dollars. So that when you talk about return on investment, I can't imagine a better return on investment for the state than investing in Kentucky's airports. This $5 million allowed us to go out and leverage federal dollars, 17.5. This is just for one project, just the checkpoint project. $17.5 million in federal funding coming to the state that would not have happened if we didn't have this checkpoint expansion in support of the $5 million. $6.1 million in passenger facility charges, $2 million in customer facility charges. All that is leveraging the support that we got from the state. The remainder, 14 million or so, came from our airline partners that 100% supported the terminal expansion, the checkpoint expansion. And so this project's underway. We think it'll open up about 18 months from now, hopefully. All the projects seem to take longer than what we like. But again, I just wanted to put this out there and say thank you. The return on investment is incredible. And our project's moving forward. Next slide. You can just see the level of support we're getting from the federal government. And there are gaps, as Eric said. This next tranche of airfield projects, again, to support UPS and their growth. We have a small footprint. We need to expand the east parallel runway. We can do that with EMAS, alternate vault. Probably everybody saw what happened in Atlanta a few years ago. They lost power, catastrophic. In Spain, Charles de Gaulle, they shut down with a electric power system that really disrupted aviation and other things. So we're programming a vault, a secondary vault. So if one of our vaults fails, automatically switch to the second vault so we can keep the airfield open 24/7. We're right now building a microgrid, which can power the terminal for 72 hours without any power source. And so we're thinking ahead of what could happen. How do we stay operational, primarily to support the 24/7 operation of Worldport. But in the next 5 years, we're working with the FAA right now on CapEx. $163 million of projects have been identified. We have support for federal grants for $146.7 million. That leaves a shortfall of $16.3 million. Obviously, we'll work with our partners, but again, when you start seeing return on investment, $16 million investment, local funds will generate $146 million in airfield projects. So it's unbelievable return on investment. These are projects that we absolutely must do to support UPS and make sure that they can continue to set records for the next 20 years. Next slide. The terminal. What started, I always joke around about this. What started out when I first got here in 2018 is like, man, we have a lot of broken stuff. We need to spend maybe $100 million. Well, this program is now $1 billion when we look at it. So the next phase in the terminal is $542 million. It is everything from customer service, amenities, but really important things. When we're setting records every year, we find that our road is not aligned correctly. We're running out of parking. Our rental car facilities are not adequate. And so a new parking deck's $110 million. Realigning the road so we can actually have traffic come in and make a decision, more space so it doesn't clog up the baggage claim. That will probably be around $60 million for the road realignment. So a lot of things that are driven by demand, driven by the success of our economy regionally and the passenger growth we've had. So this terminal work really is needed. Obviously not as much federal money when it comes to terminal work as there in the airfield work. $542 million. We think we're going to get grants for about $248 million of it. Massive shortfall of $293 million. We are right now starting a dialogue with the airlines about how do we fund this. We probably are going to have to do some debt financing. All the money we spent in the last 5 years, though, we have not had to incur any more debt. In fact, our debt reduction, we've had a debt reduction. It won't last forever. We understand that. But we've made a massive investment in the facilities without borrowing more money. Probably in the next 18 months, we'll have to look at that. But again, a lot of good work coming to the airport. A lot of good things for both cargo and the passenger charges, passenger growth. So it's been a good run. And that's really all I have for the slides. But I want to say thank you. The state's investment really helped us do some really good work for businesses and passengers.
Representative Rorks.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to Dan for coming out and presenting this presentation. It's always very exciting to see the numbers about the economic impact that the airport is having on the city of Louisville and, of course, the good work that Bowman Field does as well. But I did just want to also highlight that Dan's been instrumental in making sure that we are also being community-minded when it comes to the airport and investing in the surrounding neighborhoods and also working to mitigate sound and noise. So I just wanted to give him a little shout-out there, too, because it's amazing to see the return on investment on the page, but it's also great to have an excellent community partner. We have everybody has a Boys cancellation headset. We actually have found a pilot program in the federal government where they would test this to cancel the noise, the aircraft noise going into the communities. We just finished that, and actually, it basically is like a Boys cancellation headset that cancels the noise going into the community, reduces the footprint of that, and it's been a really. I mean, we just got it turned on about maybe 4 months ago. Pretty amazing program. And then community partners. Obviously, UPS makes a lot of noise. It's great for the economy, but it can be a little bit disruptive. We've sound insulated 750 homes so far, and have spent over $40 million in the noise quieter home program. And there's no end in sight. We're doing new studies every year. For the next 15 years, we think we're going to have $4 to $6 million to invest in improving the quality of life for people that live in and around the airport. So it's never far from what we do and what we think of.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members who are present today. It's my privilege to address the task force. My name is Larry Crowder, and it's my privilege to serve as the CEO of CVG Airport. We'll go through the slides relatively quickly. I want to make sure that we reserve time for questions. Again, we'll start off talking about, thank you, Eric. economic development, and the economic engine that the airports represent. Of course, CVGs at 10.5 billion. A little over 9 million passengers, 55 nonstop destinations, including international. We're the 7th largest cargo airport in North America and have the unique position of serving as a dual hub for both DHL and Amazon. And we have 16,000 badged employees on campus. So when you think about the job creation aspect that all 3 airport CEOs are here talking about today, it's obviously very considerable. Next slide, please. This is just a route map just to give you a depiction of where we're going on the globe right now, and the diversity of the service that we have is really a strength right now in our market. Next slide, please. And this slide just shows you kind of the breakdown right now of the carriers and the market share. And again, you can see great diversity of carriers serving our market, again, which is a very good strength for us to have in northern Kentucky. Next slide. This is our market share currently, last 12 months ending in April 2025 of the passenger volume. And you can see between the 3 airports here, we're roughly CVGs at 60, Dan at Louisville's at 30, Eric's at 10, and then other airports in the Commonwealth generating about 1%. Of course, just wanted to show you a photograph of the DHL hub just so that you can get a sense of the scale of what we're involved with. And just off the picture that you see here, DHL is investing about another $260 million to build another wide-body aircraft hangar that's capable of handling 2 Boeing 777s side by side inside that hangar. Next slide. And of course, the Amazon hub, again, thousands of employees on the campus every day. We just got through, or just about through, Prime Week, which is a really big week for us and for Amazon. And things have gone really well, and we hope that this will be another record-setting Prime Week for Amazon and for us. Next slide, please. FEAM Aero is a company, and you talk about the organic growth that happens when we're able to bring anchor tenants like a DHL and Amazon onto the field. FEAM has built 2 maintenance hangars, and primarily in support of the cargo carriers, invested $64 million worth of their funds. And we talked earlier about workforce and pipeline. This is a really critical workforce development asset for the Commonwealth and for our region, as they're taking mechanics and technicians in and training them to be full performance level at their trades. Next slide, please. And how do we get them there? We recently were able to work with Epic Academy. Epic is literally right in the heart of our campus, so that students who come to Epic can literally see their future as they are driving back and forth between the cargo hubs on their way to their facility. This project was completed in 2024. Again, about 25 students per class, 10 separate or concurrent classes going on at any given time. And Epic, I think, by far is a great example of addressing some of the workforce issues that this committee wants to hear about, and in terms of how we can support feeding that aviation workforce pipeline into the future. Next slide, please. So this is just an example of all the different opportunities that we have going on around CVG, which is a little over 7,000 acres. And basically what you see us doing is taking opportunities to maximize both aeronautical property and non-aeronautical property, back to Eric and Dan's points that as economic engines, we are able to generate a considerable amount of revenue, and that revenue goes right back into investing in capital facilities that basically serves as the means by which we can continue to support and create new job opportunities. Next slide, please. This is a closer look at Hangar Row. We currently are very thankful for the state assistance that we have to advance the Hangar Row development project, which right now we are looking at all of the utility infrastructure necessary to get this ready for development. Next slide, please. We're also working on this global logistics park, and what's interesting about that is that it's not just about the big carriers like DHL and Amazon. It's about all the potential smaller carriers and then getting them connected through freight forwarders with other transportation carriers in the area. So again, that intermodal and air-surface interface, our global logistics park is really meant to attract additional folks in the freight forwarders category. So think of them as sort of the intermediaries between these very large shippers and then the other transportation companies in the area. Our F&F cargo facility and the utility infrastructure associated with that is also supported by our state grant. And as you can see, the building will be finished very soon. And we already have the building leased out. We're looking for a few more tenants right now, but we're very pleased with the subscription rate right now to this facility, and obviously have plans for more, as you saw in the global logistics park area. Again, direct correlation to job creation. And again, these projects aren't necessarily really super exciting, but sanitary sewer projects and improvements are very important. And again, if it weren't for the state grant, we would be slower at our ability to get these types of projects done because, again, without these, if you look at it as just kind of setting the table for future opportunities, these are the types of projects that we have to get done. And we're really happy because these projects are also, of course, creating construction jobs and spending throughout the local economy as well. Next slide, please. So the committee asked us to talk a little bit about ideas on the go forward, and we'll talk a little bit about advanced air mobility, but I also want to begin to advance also a different thought around the economic power of our corridor. And if you look in the area between Dayton, Louisville, and Lexington, there is considerable aviation, aerospace, transportation, and logistics assets that we believe can be better harnessed and coordinated to bring additional global opportunities into this corridor. And we've been working with this concept for a few years around being able to market this corridor, coordinate activities with our fellow airport partners and fellow economic development partners inside of this corridor. So we just wanted to use that today just to kind of plant this seed with you that there is something to this corridor, and we need to work as a team with the Commonwealth around ideas to continue to advance this concept out into the global economy. Next slide, please. So again, if you look at some of the data around what's happening in this corridor, it is very compelling. Around aerospace, of course, our delivery services, the freight transportation and warehousing, very considerable economic impact generated from our region's airports. And I just use this slide to map out to you in this corridor all the types of companies that we have currently and their relationship in the aerospace supply chain, R&D, transportation, logistics. Again, seeing that theme beginning to emerge of what is going on in this corridor and how can we leverage that and how can the legislature help us leverage that on the go forward. Next slide, please. When we talk a little bit about that, we can also work in advanced air mobility. I had the opportunity this time last week to go up and visit the NAMC, or National Advanced Air Mobility Center of Excellence in Springfield, and actually got a chance to fly the Beta Technologies conventional takeoff and landing electric aircraft. And I can tell you that between the conventional takeoff and landing aircraft and also the vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, it's very exciting that we have these opportunities to potentially leverage a partnership with Ohio in this space. And that was one thing that I want to encourage the task force to think about is, again, partnering and using this corridor that we talked about in order to leverage more economic opportunities, not only for the Commonwealth, but for that regional area, that corridor. Next slide, please. We also have a relationship, and the state aviation director mentioned that, with Miami University and managing the Oxford airport. And that really was with regard to being part of this advanced air mobility ecosystem and partnering with educational institutions that can also leverage the R&D that's going on by the private sector. And again, where does that nexus take place? It takes place in the corridor. And what's exciting about the corridor, when you look at everything going on and the role that advanced air mobility will have in distribution of cargo and ultimately of passengers and people, is that I think we are setting up for a very unique value proposition in this corridor to leverage more investment in advanced air mobility into the region. And I'll show you in the next slide, we've got some facilities that we're working on in partnership with Miami University to make sure that the airport is ready for advanced air mobility. And there are several facilities that you see here on this caption from the airport layout plan, again, looking at conventional aircraft, vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, electric charging, and I think we even need to look at other potential sources of energy like hydrogen as well. We want to talk about alternative jet fuel. We need to continue to make progress towards this in our Commonwealth. And I wanted to reframe it just for this task force to think about, is that we have international passenger and international cargo that's coming into our Commonwealth. All of that impacts foreign domestic investment in the Commonwealth. And so I think that as what we're hearing from international carriers is that they need to find a pathway for alternative jet fuel delivery at critical airports here in the Commonwealth. And so I do think it's important that the task force looks at it in terms of how can we continue to support this type of service because it is very lucrative economically, and what are the ways that the Commonwealth can win by providing pathways for the fuel to be delivered at the airports that have international service on the go forward. Next slide. As you can see here on this chart, I just wanted to point out the opportunity as you look across the globe, and you can see that we're in a bit of a gap area or a desert area when it comes to alternative jet fuel, which again can help us leverage future international air service opportunities both in the passenger side and on the cargo side, while also, we think, boosting our rural economy around the delivery of alternative jet fuel. So just to wrap it up in where we're headed, and I think what's exciting about this task force in terms of what we can work on together is really looking at all of these potentialities to continue to harness the ability of all of our airports in the Commonwealth to generate greater job growth, as well as the kind of jobs that we want that are family-sustaining jobs in our Commonwealth. So just a few thoughts to leave you with. Clearly, we believe that the task force should look at sustained funding for not only infrastructure that you've heard a lot about today, but also for air service development, both domestic and international. We think that the legislature can be very helpful in financial and political support, establishing this corridor. Right now, we're looking at it as the ideal squared corridor, which is basically saying innovation, defense, energy, aviation, aerospace, logistics, and life sciences. And we would like to continue to look at regional marketing and business partnerships in which the Commonwealth can engage with us and be visible in places like the Paris Air Show or next summer Farnborough. And again, use this corridor to leverage business recruitment opportunities. We think we should look at strategic partnerships where it makes sense with advanced air mobility, and I would encourage that with Ohio. And as you've heard previously, in terms of continuing to stoke that pipeline, we really need legislative support for grants and aid programs for students to enter the aviation trade programs that we're supporting across our aviation network in the Commonwealth. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you today.
Thank you all for your presentations. I don't see any questions. I would just like to point out, you know, I've taken tours of all these locations. I would encourage all the members of the task force to do so. We can try to coordinate those, but again, thank you for your presentation. This is really the tip of the iceberg on where Kentucky can go in this industry, and again, thank you all for being here on the task force with me. At this time, seeing no other business, I would just like to introduce or see his former Representative Jonathan Dixon still with us. Oh, there he is. So for those of you that don't know, he's the new Executive Director of the Kentucky Aviation Association. Thank you for being here with us today. This time we'll be adjourned.